All right, we are coming back live, and we're about to have a conversation that is so taboo in our community. And I am wondering why Facebook is not going live, but it'll start soon, it said. So, Warren, let me put my headset on so you can hear me clearly. There we go. Uh, for tuning in. We are IITG Season Sister Speak. I'm your host, Victorianne Russell Walton, and I am on IITG Season Sister Speak with my man Warren, whom I appreciate so much. Warren Green is up here with me, and I'm a little flustered because we have a wonderful conversation to talk about. Um, and it's one of those conversations that people don't want to have, and I don't know why, because it's needed. So I am. Let me take that off. And for some reason, people are saying, I don't know what they're saying, Warren, that they don't see us. Hmm, I see me. Let me do a microphone check, babe. Can you see and hear us?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're good by me. You were breaking up a minute ago.
Oh, okay. We are not on Facebook, and I don't know why. So let me add me back. And we're live. Yeah, we're live. So I don't know. Let me hit refresh because this is a good topic, and we're going to um hmm, just going live shortly. I don't know. Maybe there is an automatic delay with it. Thanks for your patience. Okay. Yeah, it says going live soon. So I guess there's a delay, an automatic delay. I'm not for sure. But we're going to go ahead and get started. So Warren, tell them all about you, your credentials, and where they can find you at.
Well, I'm a retired food scientist, and I retired some time ago. I work for the Food Safety Inspection Service of the USDA. I write articles. I've been writing articles that you can find all over Facebook. If you go to albemartradewinds.com, you can find a whole 10 years of articles that I wrote about food and how it affects you mentally, how it affects you physically, and such. Good reading. Check it out.
Okay, well, that's how you get in contact with Warren. And for me, you can always reach me at 301-442-5105. And you can always catch me on Facebook or catch me on any of my social media. Excuse me. And I was outside playing in the yard, and I kicked my allergies up, Warren. I have been congested all week long, the baby and I both. And my neighbor came over to do me a favor and blow my leaves. Unfortunately, he blew them, right in my nose. So we're a little congested, but we're here. And I don't know why Facebook has not started yet. I don't know why it hasn't started yet, but we're certainly ready, and people are telling us, Warren, that they can't see us, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So, our conversation today, we're talking about mental health, and we are talking about um, suicide. And it's a conversation that no one wants to have, but unfortunately, Warren, is something that we need to talk about in our community. So, Warren, I'm going to give you the floor and let you get us started with having this conversation. We talk about a lot of things on and off site, but let's get ready to have this conversation. So, what do you say about mental health and suicide, Warren?
Well, currently I'm fighting shingles.
Hmm.
And shingles, as we know, is chicken pox
Hmm.
that resurface. Now, chicken pox, I had chicken pox when I was, I think, 8 years old, and I'm 82. So this virus was dormant is somewhere in my nerve sheath for over 70 years.
Mhm.
So I got medication for it, like pregabalin, and all the medication I have an antidepressant component.
Mhm.
But we know that the medication, of course,
Mhm.
might be so antidepressant component.
Mhm.
But we know that the medication, of course, might be so antidepressant component. But we know that the medication, of course, might be so antidepressant component. But we know that the medication. I'm hearing myself over and over. Might
Yeah,
be
yeah.
so
It's
antidepressant
I don't know why
component.
it's backing up, but we're good. Go ahead. At least we know we can hear you loud and clear.
So at least so I started researching that, and I went to the World Journal of Psychiatry,
Mhm.
and I went to antidepressant food and evidence-based nutrient profiling for depression to see what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And what they're talking about is much what we talk about, like omega 3 and all of the and antidepressant foods that we take in. And I think that if you feel depressed, you need to see what you're eating, see what nutrients. And I would go to that site
Mhm.
or to the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, to take a look at what they're saying about what you're eating, or specifically go there and look at depression and see what they're saying about the studies and what kind of studies and what kind of language they have
Yeah.
for things like antidepressant.
Mhm.
Because most of the medicines you get, most of the environment is depression, is depressing. That's not a proper word. The very environment is causing depression.
It's I'm me personally, and welcome everybody on the show. Thank you so much. I don't know why we're having technical difficulties on some of the streaming, but we'll definitely repost. I think everything is totaled right now. And what I mean by totaled is I believe that nutrition is important to stress and the management. You're absolutely right. But I believe it's everything. I believe it's social because we can't visit family, we can't hug on each other, we can't kiss on each other, we can't visit with each other, we can't have dinners. We're so used to being close and together, and now we're being told we've got to stay away and we have to keep 6 feet and we can't touch each other. And for my poor 5-year old, he's so used to hugging on people and holding hands, and I'm so quick to grab him and keep him away from everyone and keep him, in my words, safe, because I don't want him getting sick. We've lost Warren. I'm not for sure, but I know he'll chime right back in. So I believe it's all of those things. I believe it's social. I believe it's spiritual. I believe it's physically. I believe it's emotionally. I believe it's what we put in our bodies. I believe it's what we're looking at. I believe in all of the spiritual and the evil and the good. So I believe in all of that, Warren, and I think everything plays a part, especially with us now being separate from each other and having to keep distance from each other. It's important to have people to lean on, and it's important to have a safety net. And what I mean by a safety net, to me, my family and my husband, they're my safety net. So not to have that, it for me it gives me anxiety. Like, I have a huge family. There's a lot of us running around, 14 sisters and 4 brothers. There's a whole bunch of us, and we're used to getting together on the holidays, and now we can't get together on the holidays. Or if we get together, we have to be so mindful: who's sick, don't touch this person, wear your mask, spray the Lysol, wipe down with Clorox. It's so many do's and don'ts. And they tell us, wear one mask, wear two masks, wear three masks. Don't wear a mask. Don't worry about it. If you get sick, your immune system will kick in. And that's not true for everybody. So all of these things are necessary, but now there's so much disinformation out there. You don't know who to believe. You don't know what report to read. And at the end of the day, we're confused, we're saddened, and we're depressed. And I can share this. Our special guest that was coming on today, his niece committed suicide after Sunday dinner. So he said they had a great time. They had great conversations. They went back and looked at the video and looked at the pictures, and she didn't seem distraught or saddened or anything. They all had a great time. And when they went home, she took her own life. And the family's beating themselves up. Could we have seen it? Did we know? Were there signs before? So everyone is having a hard time about what they could or could not have done. And to me, when a person makes up their mind, Warren, that they have had enough and they are ready to go home, they've had enough and they're ready to go home. And sometimes there's nothing you can do, right?
I think that you have to go a little more fundamental than that. And and I'm a cause and effect disciple. What is the
Mhm.
cause of things? What causes things? Now you mentioned that she was among family and friends and good eating. They shared a good time, and she
Yeah.
did it anyway. So maybe we have to go a little deeper than having the family support system as to what happened. I suggest that, but I think all remedies are food, but nevertheless, something deeper is happening or was happening with the person to have to do that, because all of the other things that she needed or any that the average person needed, being around family, sharing a meal,
Yeah.
looking at having fun and everything else, and then she goes and takes her life anyway.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's not the solution.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe the solution is something else. And what is the something else that we all
miss.
take part in? And
Yeah.
that's what you're putting in your body.
And what medications was she on? I mean, we all know that medications play an important part of our daily intake and on our mental state. So we, I don't know who that is. They're asking questions. So we don't understand exactly what the outcome is, and what I mean by that is, like Warren, you and I are cancer survivors. I know one of my medications cause suicidal thoughts. And I know that some of them cause horrific dreams and nightmares. I talked about that often. How my doctor used to ask me if I was sad today, and I never understood why until I finally asked her, "Why do you keep asking me if I'm happy or sad?" And one of the side effects was suicidal thoughts. And my thinking was, why would you put a cancer patient on a drug that would cause suicidal thoughts? Why? What, and they were saying, well, that's the best medication for you, but it's not. If I wasn't spiritually strong, I would hate to think what would have happened. Thank God I was, but what if I wasn't?
Well, with medicine is another ball game.
Mhm.
And I was questioning the other day the vaccinations, because they still haven't been certified by the FDA. I can
Mhm.
understand people not taking it because it has not been certified. It's because, and how do you certify a medication? How do you mandate something before it's official? It's for emergency use only right now, and
Right.
it's not been certified. Certification takes years of studies and examining the results and so forth, and years.
Mhm.
It takes clinical trials and the whole thing, and they haven't done that yet with this. Now, sometimes they go into maybe a cancer medication, and it might take 10 years, and they know that this medication works, but it has this side effect.
Mhm.
The side effect is it might make you uh, make you have depression. Well, they're not going to throw this medication out because it might have depression. They'll show the side effects. And like your doctor was asking you, how are you feeling? Are you
Mhm.
depressed and so forth and so on?
Mhm.
And if you said yes, then the doctor would then address that. And I suggest that they would address it with food.
Now,
That's
why do
my
you?
personal opinion.
Well, okay, so let's talk about that. Why food?
Well, food and that study that I mentioned suggests that food actually is the mitigates depression. You
So,
know, so some people call it comfort food or so forth
hmm
and so on. If
hmm
you're eating wholesome, uh, clean food, maybe you wouldn't have got sick in the first place, actually.
wow.
Because I mean, I believe that the reason why you got sick is probably what something that you consumed or something in the environment, probably food, since that's what we all share.
But if food is our comfort, like I believe eating chocolate, dark chocolate, to me can resolve a sad day. That's just me. I've read some studies on eating dark chocolate and how it can assist with the mood swings.
Sure.
But Warren, it's just like you just said. Food. We think of our food as, for me, sometimes love, a gesture of love,
Yeah, but you
because
suggested that when she was at a family with love,
yeah.
and that
Well,
was the day she chose
to
to
go home.
yeah. So that's so a lot, that's why I said we have to go deeper than that, because maybe there's other things. Maybe there's things that's they're not able to understand or want to understand. I
Mhm,
don't see the reason for things to having to understand a whole lot of things personally, and I
mhm,
think that it becomes a problem when you don't understand something, and then you have and it's something that can't be explained. It has to be dealt with by other ways, other means, by other what other people are talking about, even faith.
wow. I'm reading comments, and Talia, I hope I'm saying her name right, is making a lot of great comments. You do have to get to the root of the issue. And a lot of times, sometimes, and it's funny we say the root, because the root is like the
Cause,
foundation,
sure,
right? So a
it's the
lot of
cause.
times there's something in that foundation that's cracked or not balanced, that we haven't dealt with from our past. But before I go on, let me give this information out. This is the 800 number for suicide helpline, 24 hours a day. And it's 800-273-8255. And I also listed it on our website, that you can have someone to talk to if, and you have to excuse me, my allergies are getting to me, have someone to talk to if you need to. Look, we all know about prayer, but God puts people on this earth here to help us with our issues. That's why we have doctors. That's why we have police officers. That's why we have judges. That's why we have ophthalmologists. God puts people here to help us. And that's where psychologists come in. And if you need a ministry, that's where a ministry would come in at. But get the help where you need it. And if you need help, there's nothing wrong with you going to get it. Okay, there's nothing wrong. And you don't have to say anything to your family. And if they see you walking out of the doctor's office, oh well, who cares? You get what you need for you to be whole and healthy. Because at the end of the day, you must take care of yourself before you can take care of somebody else. And if you need to talk to somebody, go talk to somebody. What do you say, Warren?
I don't. I'm, I guess what some of my concerns is that
Hmm
if it's food,
hmm
then some of the people that you talk to are not going to be able to help you. You have to start doing some of your research to understand what the problem is. You have to understand what your problem is before you can talk to somebody.
hmm
Really, you could just tell them that you're depressed, and I don't know if your discussion is going to lead them to what you need to know
hmm
as to why you are depressed, period. And it could be because it's some medicine you're taking that you have to take, so you now have to mitigate that. And who and maybe your doctor would know about what medication you and how this medication is affecting you,
hmm
but no other person would know why. It's something it's part of your treatment strategy.
Right, but a conversation, if they could get that person started with a conversation and maybe they could take notes on what the conversation is, because a lot of times people won't even talk about what's going on. So if you have no one to talk to, at least that's a person that can say, okay, well, tell me how you're feeling. Well, what do you think it is? And those are notes you can look back on yourself, even with food, to look back on yourself and say, hey, I fell and hurt my knee when I was 3 and nobody put a Band-Aid on it. I mean, we don't know. So it's a good feeling to have someone to balance that out. If especially if you have no one to talk to. And I'm noticing that most people aren't saying anything to anybody. So maybe if they feel comfortable with talking to somebody about something, maybe it will get them to realize, hey, I do need to have a conversation. Or like we talk about food journals and we say write down what you eat so you can see what's affecting you and how it's affecting you. But if you don't have that open conversation, that person won't know where to start. That's why I love the fact, Warren, that you and I cover so many bases, because it is broad enough that people will say, well, you know what? Maybe I did overload on caffeine or overload on sugar, and maybe it is affecting me that way. So you just don't know where to start. That's a good place to start. And that's a good point, Talia. Your life needs to be balanced in all areas. And that's hard to do, especially right now. Now, look, think about this, Warren. Your rent's due. Your light bill is due. There's no food in the refrigerator. You have to take your kids to school. Your kids have outgrown all their clothes. You don't have a job. Your husband is doing the best he can, but it's not enough. All of these things are going on. And on top of that, you're depressed. I mean, that how do you find the balance in all of that? Food can play a part of it, but if there's no food in the refrigerator or in the cabinet, that's another stress level. Some people think opting out is the best thing that they can do to help their family, but it's not. So we have to find a balance and we have to find a better way of dealing with everything. And that's where the conversation needs to come in. Yes, Talia, stress management. But if you don't know how to manage your stress, we're just telling people manage your stress. Well, how do you do that? What does that look like, Warren?
Well, I don't know. Managing stress is really way above my pay grade. I get stressed. I mean, I'm stressed every time something happens because
Yeah.
I'm a cancer survivor, and
Hmm.
I immediately go to that. And I had to
Yeah.
clear myself from all of these things. I got these shingles. Well, let me say how this happened and why I know about some of this medication. I had a compression fracture of my 11th vertebrae maybe 2 months ago, and I wondered how I did it. And actually, I got it because of sitting, really. But we know now that some medication I take was I take Luprin for the cancer,
Hmm.
and it says in the side effects that it weakens bones. Now I take a lot of uh, uh, supplements and so forth and so on, but I kind of neglected to take like supplements that strengthen bones. It's crazy, and I know better. Period. And all of these systems have to work with each other.
Hmm.
So the pain was so intense that when I went, and I actually went to emergency, and they asked me if I wanted an opiate or opiates as a form of treatment or non-steroid medicine. The non-steroid did not work. That's ibuprofen, Tylenol, all of those non-steroid pain medications. So I opted for the steroid.
Hmm.
I didn't want the opiate. But steroids tamp down your immune system. I had chicken pox, like I said earlier, when I was 8 years old. So now all of that surfaced. So now I'm having that the shingles with a fractured spine. I
Wow.
couldn't even identify what the pain was. And then I'm
Mm.
getting physical therapy, so I'm sore from that. So I'm hurting all over.
Yeah.
But that just showed me that that you can't. I knew better, and I
Mhm.
knew what I had to do to, if particularly if I'm going to take a steroid, I'm going to have to get some repair for my immune system, which with that you can't.
Huh.
I knew
Okay, it
better.
just popped up. I'm sorry.
So you have to do that, but you have to. I neglected to read the side effects of the medication that I was taking, and I always suggest that you should read the you
Hold
should
on.
read the side effects,
But you
and
know,
then
Warren,
the list of stuff that they give you, you might want to go a little deeper.
yeah. The scary part about it
I have
is
to get some
you have
some
to
repair for
you
my immune.
you you really have to read the medication labels because with each medication, there's what 500 side effects. But then you have to read the food labels. And then you have to check your emotions. Look, I I think I'm a strong person in all realms. I try to be. Two-time breast cancer survivor. I got to be strong, right? But I know one time I had a conversation with a friend of mine that called me. And after I got off the phone with her, I was so sad and I was really irritable and I was crying and I called my mom and I was like, I don't know what I'm crying for. I said, there's really nothing wrong. I said, I don't know what's wrong with me. And I was telling her, she said, well, what were you just doing? And I told her I was talking to so and so. And she said, oh, you allowed those emotions to jump on you. And I was like, what do you mean, mommy? She said, well, she was sad in her spirit. So her spirit kind of entwined with yours. And I said, mommy, are you sure? She said, that's exactly what happened. So to me, it was like, you know what? I really have to guard myself better because I was fine before I spoke with her. But after I spoke with her, I was so sad. It's like, my gosh, I had a moment and I had to check myself real quick because balancing yourself is important. And if your spirit is weak, you can't go around fighting other spirits when your spirit is weak. And that goes for me mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially, in every way. Warren, you can talk to people and they can really mess with you mentally where you'll be on the couch sitting there crying trying to figure out what's wrong. So food played a part in that. Plus, I'm sorry, my allergies. Excuse me. Plus, you have to watch what you eat, what you say, and how you say it. So, Warren, let's talk about sugar and the effects of the emotions when it comes to sugar.
Well, let me backtrack a little bit about what you said about the people that you associated with
Hmm.
that might be depressed. I used to be an EMT when I came out of the military. I was an EMT in the South Bronx for 10 years. So I had to learn that I could not allow my feelings to bless you, to hamper what I did. But that was every day. Every day we
Yeah.
went out on a call on an ambulance call to deliver a baby or somebody's dying or something
Hmm.
like that. I
Hmm.
did that for 10 years. And
Wow.
so I had to kind of get that feeling sorry for myself or them completely out of my the way I did business. So I can understand these people in the hospital because you're talking about
Yeah,
doctors and
Carolyn.
nurses. They have to see it every day. That's part of their standard of care.
Yeah.
You can't possibly allow it to affect you. I mean, you just can't.
Yeah.
But as far as things like sugar, everything I read, sugar is a culprit.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't see anything, and is a culprit into depression and everything else. Everything I read. So I don't
Yeah.
know if you can how to reduce it unless you. I don't do any. Most processed foods have sugar. I want to say almost all processed foods have sugar or a sweetener, period. And you have to really start looking at your diet and see what it might do. And of course, it's something that it's going to affect your mood.
But too much sugar can be an overload and a trigger as
Well, any
well.
sugar probably affects your mood. There's
Yes.
things that they know affects you. Sodium nitrite. That's
Yes.
something that we do to cure bacon and
Mhm.
cold cuts and so forth and so on. Sodium nitrite is a, I want to call it, I don't want to call it a birth control,
Hmm.
but what it does is it depresses libido.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You- Like they used to tell us, don't eat a frankfurter if you're going out on a date.
No, I used to hear that. I've
And they
heard
used
that one
to, yeah,
before.
and they used to treat some of the sailors with what they call saltpeter. But
Now that I've heard.
what that is sodium nitrate, which they use to cure. So it was big in places like Virginia and North Carolina where they did hams, and Virginia
Right.
hams were all were cured
Mhm.
with sodium nitrate or
Right.
potassium nitrate, and which is saltpeter.
Mhm.
So they always said that, of course, it
True.
started out in the prison system because they didn't want the inmates to 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 they wanted to tamp down their libido in the prison. So they served a lot of cured meats to them
Mhm.
to do that.
To do that. And it's amazing because we've had these conversations about food and how food affects the body, and we don't know what's in our food. And so, with us not knowing where our food comes from, to what's in our food, we don't know how it will affect us. And there's so many things now again that we're fighting against. But hold on a second. Let me push pause. You're listening to IITG Season Sisters Speak. I'm Victorian Russell Walton, aka Maryland's Big Diva, and I have Warren Green on, always on my side, and we're discussing depression, and unfortunately, our guest is not here today because his niece did um, commit suicide, and that was a discussion for today. And we are praying for him and his family as they deal with this, and as I'm not saying his name because they're still letting the family know what's going on out of respect. So we want to have this open conversation, and I also want to give everyone this number. The number is 800-273-8255, and that is the number to the suicide helpline. And I've also listed it, and I will post it again, of all of the 800 number suicides preventions that can help everyone. And if you need help, get help. If you need to talk to the pastor, if you need to talk to your dog, if you need to talk to your parent, if you need to get a pet parakeet, fish, ant to help you cope with life, because we're going through something right now this world has never seen before, and we hope we never see it again. And a lot of us don't know how to deal with it. And so I'm not judging anyone. If you need help, get help. If you need food from the food bank, go to the food bank. If you don't have gas to get to the food bank, ask somebody to take you. If you don't have clothes, ask people to donate. Ask your sisters to clean out their closet. My God, I clean my closet out all the time. My sisters and I, and we share. We have to get back to taking care of each other, and making sure that we cover each other and that we love on each other. And we're so afraid to love right now because, to me, Warren, the pandemic has taught us to stay away and to keep our distance and to not touch each other and to not check on each other and not be concerned about each other. That's just my opinion. Because you see, I have to guard my son. Don't touch, don't look, don't cough, don't sneeze, don't. I'm guarding him. He'll never know what it feels like to get on his bike and ride to the other side of town because mommy is running behind him with bubble wrap, and Lysol. So, but this is the day and time we're living at now. So had this conversation with Connie the other day. This generation won't know how to be free because we were free. Warren was free growing up. We were free growing up. Now, you guys, you won't know how it is to be as free as we once were. Riding in the back of the pickup truck with no seat belts, and if you fell out, you knew better because Daddy told you to hold on. They used to say, when you get home, I'm gonna knock you out again. If you don't hold on, you're gonna get knocked out, right? So we need to get back to the fundamentals of family. There's also one other saying that people are saying now: families don't get together anymore. They don't gather anymore. Well, one, we don't because we just got out of a pandemic and we couldn't. But two, a family gathering starts with you, Warren. Starts with you, Joan. Starts with you, Talia. I hope I'm saying your name right. Starts with you, Carolyn. It's just a sandwich and a hot dog and a hamburger. Open up the backyard and invite the family over. It starts with you. So stop saying family don't get together anymore. Family's just losing it. Don't say that. Say, hey, family, come over. Let's sit around and sip some lemonade. Or if you don't have any food, everybody bring something. And if you don't want them in your house, put them outside in the backyard. That's why you have a backyard. But it starts with us. So let's start building each other back up. Let's start focusing on each other and let's start loving on each other. One more commercial I need to make. Um, we need to also support Dr. Freddie White Johnson down there in Mississippi with the Fannie Lou Hamer Breast Cancer Foundation. Let's make sure that we're supporting her. And if she needs anything as a community, let's make sure we're reaching out to her. Also, IITG and VR Walton Consultant, we are planning a Mother's Day event in Washington, D.C. Outside, of course, we're asking for vendors to come through. If you sell it, if you make it, if you promote it, holler at your girl. We want you to come outside, and it's a Mother's Day event. We want to cover women from the top to the bottom. We are doing clothes this time, and you are allowed to sell. But we also want the mental health. We also want the health and wellness. We also want the holistic. So reach out to me and let me know if you're available. It should be the last week in May, but I will have a date for you. So again, Mother's Day extravaganza. We don't know what we're going to name it. Probably pass the mic because we're going to talk in Washington, D.C. We want you and you and you and you and everybody to be a part of it. All our social media. So make sure you share, like, and reach out to me if you would like to set up a table and be a part of. So we thank all our social media for tuning in. We thank you for tuning in. Konnichiwa to all of those listening in Japan, and bonjour to all of those in South Africa. We thank you for tuning in and again sharing and liking. And go to our YouTube channel where you can look at all of our talk shows from the past and join to be a part of the team. So this is IITG Season Sister Speak. I'm Victorianne Russell Walton, and we're going to get back into the topic of talking about suicide and mental health. So I think it's very important, again, to give hugs and to give love. And I've often shared, Warren, that my mom and my sisters wrote me love letters. They encouraged me to be the best that I could be during my chemo and during my breast cancer journey, because it was mentally and spiritually in every way challenging. And I think that if people don't know how to say they're proud of you or I support you, write a letter, write a note, send a text. There's so many ways that you can talk to a person now without talking to a person. How do you feel about writing a love letter, Warren?
Well, most people. I'm saying I'm thinking about what you were saying when your families get together, and what I'm seeing is that everybody's on the phone doing the text. Even when they're all together, they're on the phone doing something.
Yeah.
Particularly younger people. That's discouraging. Now they're not conversing; they're really referencing everything through their phone. That's kind of discouraging to me. I'm a family person. I come from a very large family myself. But even when we get together, everybody's on a phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
The
I don't
rules.
know. You know, I, when you say okay, no phones and so forth and so on, then
Hmm.
I don't know if you can expect the gathering to be what you want it to be. That's
Well,
my.
but you know what? But it used to be
But
when
that
when
was
we yeah.
before there were phones.
Right. But the rules are what you make them. So if they can make the rules in the restaurant, everybody has to put their phone down, and everyone gets a free dessert. If we don't want to bribe people, but we want people to take the opportunity to share. Now, yes, you're going to pick your phone up and take pictures of each other, right? That's something that we do. That's for memory's sake. But to have a conversation and to listen to the elders that are still yet here. I used to love listening to my aunties and uncles' stories of who, what, when, where, and how. It explains a lot, and we learned a lot. And then also, used to make me laugh. It was like Auntie used to dance, not you. See, well, now I dance for the Lord, but back in the day, I was a hand dance queen, and it was like, really, you were the hand dance queen? If you listen, you'll learn, and you'll take away something from that. I think a conversation is what's missing, especially with us now having to have been in the house for so long. We don't know how to have meaningful. Well, I won't say everyone. There's a lack of meaningful conversations, and it needs to be had. I want David to have conversations with his aunts and uncles and learn and listen and imagine and dream, and he gets that through having conversations. I make sure that I ask, Auntie, didn't you used to do this? And every time I listen to one of them, I learn something new. Like my uncle was in the army, and I was like, when were you in the army? He said, oh yeah, I fudged my age when I was younger, and I went into the army, and I got an honorable discharge, and they almost kicked me out when they found out how old I was. It's like, really, you? So when you listen, you learn things. And sometimes I won't say it will stop a person from doing whatever they're going to do, but sometimes it gives that person something to think about when you hear that others have gone through what you're
Absolutely.
going through. So a
And
conversation needs to
I
happen.
like to think of it particularly with people with my DNA.
Mhm.
And I believe that people with my DNA kind of, and I try every time we do get together, I try to talk to them about what we have in common,
Yeah.
what I have seen since I'm an elder. In fact, I'm the oldest person in my family, of a large family also. And I try to tell them what I see in them and why this should happen.
Mhm.
I understand where you get your work ethic from because
Mhm.
we had it. If that was passed down from my father. Not that my father was the greatest guy, but I know that he passed the things that he gave me. I'm grateful for,
Yeah.
even though we disagreed on social things. Well, we were going through a little transition socially. Everybody was going through the same. It was after the war, after everything, all things were happening. So I understood, but I realized what he gave me, what
Mhm.
DNA gave me,
Mhm.
what DNA he did for me. So I hear a lot of, say, women who are single parents. Well, nobody this and this and this and this. Okay, they're
Yeah.
not able to give their offspring the information that they want to give them because they don't want to have anything to do with the father who has 50% of the DNA. Well, they got to know about that. You
Yeah.
have to know about that. You
Yeah.
want to know about that, and here it is. Here's the information. It's only information. Here's the
Right.
information you might need down the line. You had
Mhm.
an aunt that had this kind of disease, and here's how she managed it. Here's how the cancer survivors manage it. I found out when I was feeling very sorry for myself when I first was diagnosed with the cancer. I went down with my elderly aunt and mother, and she laughed at me. Don't worry about it. All of us get cancer. Boom. And she was right. When I looked it up, most of the females on my mother's side, all of them had cancers. Most of them lived to be 100.
Wow.
So I'm saying, well, why
Wow.
am I going through changes? My mother had used to put coffee in her sugar to live to be 99. I
That's
can't
my
even
girl.
talk about sugar.
Yeah.
I'm but but I know that the coffee protected her now.
Yeah.
I know that I did a study on coffee that the other day, and this is from my friend Vicky. Here's
Mhm.
what it says: the NIH study finds that coffee drinkers have a lower risk of death. They actually went to the National Cancer Institute part of the National Institutes of Health for that study. And coffee drinkers, and they're talking about drinking a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you get curious, go to the NIH, look at their thing. There, a lot of people say, well, coffee's this and coffee's that, and
Mhm.
the NIH, which is the authority, says that if you are a heavy coffee drinker, you'll live longer than somebody who doesn't drink coffee at all.
Oh, wow. And that's me, because I am. And, I was laughing. I said, I don't know if I'm a coffee drinker because of my parents. And it's just like what you said, Warren, about your dad. My dad was a workaholic, and he was always doing something, if not to our yard, just going to work. And I think that's where I get it from, as my husband saying, not being able to sit still. I constantly have to be doing something. Even when I was in the hospital, I was constantly doing something. My doctor would tell me, would you please go to your room and stay in your room? And it's like, no, somebody needs to talk to me. And he was like, who? I said, I don't know. I'm going to find somebody, and tell him about the goodness of God and tell him about being a cancer survivor. So, coffee is a big part of my day, because to me, as I sit there and I read my Bible, or if I sit there and I'm working, it kind of reminds me of my mom and dad, and it gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling. So, I identify with good times and remembering with them. So maybe that's a reason why I'm a big coffee drinker. Um, so I have a question. Is that coffee a lot? Is is that drinking a lot of coffee without sugar? I drink my coffee with sugar and evaporated milk. What you say, Warren?
Well, I can only say I speak. My mother, like I said my mother used to put coffee in her sugar. Yeah. So I mean, she used a lot of sugar every day, and but that's all kind of a personal thing because sugar has a different effect on different people. So you'd have to see what it is that you need. I don't have a problem with sugar because, like I said, my mother seems to she just passed at 99. Her sister before her passed at 102. She used a lot of sugar, so I know that that's biological, and sugar might affect you and might not affect you, but it's hard to talk about sugar. I'm not talking about artificial sweeteners. I don't believe in them at all. High fructose. These days, you can't even get things with natural sugar anymore.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now they substituted sugar for high fructose corn syrup. That I wouldn't use. I know
Yeah.
that affects the liver.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And again, with what our food, we don't know what we're eating. Warren, I sent you a video. I tagged you in it, and I don't know where this is in the world, but they are coloring green apples. They're green, and they're coloring the green apples red with some kind of food paint. And I am going to repost that because I just posted it this morning. And when I saw that, I said red dye. There's something I read about the red chemical, orange dye in the Cheetos, and I think it was a macaroni and cheese, and the red dye. But they were painting the green apples red. And I'm like, well, what's the purpose of that? Because we'll eat the apples even if they're green, but it's an entire factory of painting these green apples red. And I can't wait to read the report of how that's going to affect our bodies.
But but they've been using orange food coloring for oranges forever here
Yeah. Yeah.
in the United States. I mean that so they do that, and food coloring. Food coloring is a big problem.
Yeah.
As far we require them to put uh, to start listing the food colorings that might be a problem. If you read your label, you'll see that it might say FD&C yellow number 5. That was a problem.
Mhm.
And I think all food coloring is a problem. In fact, if you have to color it, I mean, why would you want to consume it? The whole thing reason I'm saying this is why what are you putting in your body? You have
Mhm.
to know what you're putting in your body.
Mhm.
You have to know it. And I
Yeah.
mean, I think you should read all the ingredients and everything else. Get your food from the sources that are acceptable sources. I would look at organic if I can, as much as I can. I would do organic. I would read the label. You must read the label to see what you're putting in your body. You need to jot it down. If you don't know what you're reading or what you're eating, you need to write down, put it in your log that you don't know, so that when you get home or if you get sick, look it up. See
Yeah.
what this how this affects you.
And when you look at it, See on that day if you were, and write your emotions down. Were you happy on Thursday? Were you sad on Thursday? Were you anxious on Thursday? Were you anxious on Saturday? And then look at the food that you ate. What did I eat Saturday? Well, wait, hold it. I had a lot of chocolate and I had a lot of this. We all know that the food can sway your moods. We know that.
Will,
So,
that,
mhm,
that, that's a not a that's a will influence your mood.
mhm,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, and Joan asked the question, is tea better than coffee? Well, they both have caffeine.
Well, to say tea is better than coffee
Hmm.
is I'm not. And tea, we know that's a very healthy product to consume,
Right.
but so is coffee now.
Hmm.
Both of them promote good health, as far as I'm concerned. Both. As to say one is better, that's a biological thing. Tea might be better for you for some people than coffee. Of course,
Right.
everybody. It can't be one size fits all, and that's what I've always tried to suggest. You have to
Cane
look
sugar.
it up and try to customize it for you. It can't be one size fits all.
Right. And it won't be. We've got another question, Warren, and that is brown sugar good? We've talked about cane sugar, and that's all I use is cane sugar. Sometimes agave, never prune sugar. That didn't sit well with me. But Warren, we all know white sugar is bad. So what do you say
Well,
about
brown
brown sugar?
sugar is less processed
Hmm.
than white sugar.
Right. Because that's
So,
the natural form of it, correct?
well, it's less processed.
Hmm.
So, less processed probably means better
Right.
to
It
me.
it's just
Minimally processed means better than processed and so forth and so on. It
mhm,
all has to go to your taste. If I know some people that can't do without sugar.
mhm,
Well, and I clearly understand it. My mother was one of those that
yeah,
couldn't do without sugar. Why would, but she lived to be 99. Or
right.
why would I want to take her away? Why would I withdraw something that clearly wasn't a problem?
No, not for her.
Unless she was going to live to be 110. I don't know.
But Warren, the food was so much cleaner back then. It was cleaner and you know what you were really eating and you knew what you were ingesting.
Oh, of course, but she died just 4 years ago, so 3 years ago. So it wasn't
Yeah.
that long ago. So she's been consuming the same thing
Right. For 90, what, 90 plus years.
99 years.
Wow, that's amazing. Because we all know vanilla is really black, right? We all know that the vanilla white ice cream that we're supposed to be eating should be black because the vanilla bean and the vanilla ingredients is black. So they clean it and they, as Warren said, wash it up to because would you eat black ice cream? I would, especially if it tastes good. But
I mean, the food industry can influence you to do anything,
mhm,
period. I mean,
mhm,
if they make it licorice, and then probably you would eat it. They suggest, I mean, people drink more orange soda than orange juice.
yeah.
That's stunning to me, period. Orange soda is nothing, has no nutritional value at all, but yet it's a bigger seller than orange juice, which has plenty. But that's all the influence of the manufacturer and
Yeah.
commercialization.
Well, we all know eating healthy is the best thing for us to do. We all know putting colors on our plates, more colors on our plate screens, orange,
Natural
yellows,
colors, not
right? Natural
artificial
colors.
colors.
Right,
Natural colors.
right. So we all know that's the better thing for us to do. But Warren, um, there's so much now to the food. I mean, fake food, real food. I once um, watched these people make rice out of plastic, and it looked like brown rice, but it was plastic. So we don't even know what we're eating, and if it is really, in fact, food, unless you grow it and you do it yourself. But to recap, we have given you, and I hope you guys are taking notes, some pointers to help you with your mood swings and your mental health and understanding how all of it goes hands in hand. If you are having problems, again, ask for help. in whatever capacity that help looks like for you. Ask for it because your family would rather have you here and to help you and for you to get on their nerves than for you not to be here and they not be able to have the option to lend you a hand. And then also write down again what like Warren says what you're eating. Where's your food journal at? Were you happy on that day you were eating on Saturday? Were you sad on that day you were eating on Wednesday? And also write down your emotions or whatever happened to you. Write it down and get it out your system because a lot of times getting it out of your system is another way that you can help yourself. Holding it in makes you sick and ill. Also, and exercise, get out, dance, enjoy the sun. It's beautiful now. It's not raining, it's not snowing, it's 55 degrees up here in the DMV. Get out and enjoy the sunshine. A lot of times, being in a dark place will also mess with your emotions and mess with how you feel. And I don't mean to say mess, that's not a good terminology, but affect how you feel and affect how you deal with your day. Open up those blinds and let the sunshine come in and allow the world to give you always say it's when I open up the blinds and the sun touches my cheek and my face, it feels like God kissing me. Mwah, 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 mwah. That's what it feels like
You
to me,
need the
Warren.
sun to strengthen your bones
Yeah.
because my whole problem was my vitamin D, and you get that from sun. You really don't want to take a, 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 a a pill if you can get out and get some sun, and you
Hmm.
need sun just to strengthen your bones. Just for that, you need the vitamin D. They can, and that's why I said you need to really get down to see what you're putting in your body,
Hmm.
how you're living, whether you're getting all the things that you need for good health. Period.
Right.
And soul search. Go all the way in. Write a journal.
Mm.
You need to dissect yourself to see what's happening with yourself. It's hard to go and lay your problems on
Yeah,
somebody's table
it
without
is.
knowing yourself. What is happening here? Why am I feeling this way? Is it
Hmm.
the medication? Put down the medications that you're using. Do
Hmm.
all of the things that you have to
Do
do to
research.
find out
Yeah.
who you are.
Mm.
Just who you are. That's very important to me is who are you. And when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was very depressed. And then I said, well, whatever happens, cancer is not going to kill me.
Yeah.
It won't be cancer. If it's a
Hmm.
heart attack, it's something else, but it ain't going to be this. So I attacked that,
You
period.
sound like me, Warren. I told my
So it won't
husband,
be. So
don't dare put it was breast cancer or that killed me. It was
Yeah,
not. It was not cancer.
that's not gonna do it. And I know that the medicine is advanced enough that as they can keep me alive as long as I want from the
Hmm.
cancer.
Hmm.
They're not I'm not worried about that killing me.
Yeah.
The problem is that if I go along with what they say, but the problem is at 82, other things can rise. Cardiovascular stuff.
Hmm.
I really had to check that. I felt really safe and comfortable lately, and then all of a sudden I got shingles and and I have a broken vertebrae. That depressed me immensely. I will
I
say to
bet.
you
I bet so.
that was because I couldn't sleep or no. The stomach itched and hurt, the back hurt, the side hurt, everything hurt at the same time. Period.
Wow.
I'm just getting over it. But we know that there's a root cause. I know the cause. I know why it happened. And if
Hmm.
you know why it happened, then you can address it. And that's
Right.
the way it is. And then when you address it and all of that, that's what you take to your doctor or to your pet. That's
Hmm.
what you take to the people that have to help you deal with it. That's because you at least know what you're dealing with.
Right. Right. And you know how to deal with it. So I can't believe we're 2 minutes out. That an hour goes by so fast. But I'm your girl, Victorian Russell Walton, aka Maryland's Big Diva on IITG Season Sister Speak. I got my man Warren with me always, who I appreciate. And we've talked today about mental health, suicide, and eating, and how it all comes into one full effect on your plate. So what we again ask you to do the journal and check your food out, check your labels out, see what you're eating, see what you're putting in your body, and make adjustments accordingly. Remember, there's nothing wrong with being sad. There's nothing wrong with having anxiety and being anxious. It's just that you can't stay there. You got to get up. You got to get up and you got to find your happy place. And when you find your happy place, you got to stay there. You can always reach Warren on Facebook. You can always reach out to me on Facebook or call me at 301-683-8690. Again, we've had a topic discussion about suicides. The number for suicide watch is 800-273-8255. If you need to talk to someone, talk to someone. And it doesn't always have to be your best friend because they tell your business anyway. So find someone that you can speak to confidently and get all that out of your system so that you can continue to be the best you that you can be. Tell the people what you need to tell them, Warren.
Yeah, I think that the journal thing is the journal thing. You have to start jotting down your life, put down your life so everybody understand, at least people can understand what you are and what you're about and what you want to leave to people. But
Mhm.
understand what you're putting in your body, understand, you know, what understand what you're about.
Yeah,
Understand why you're depressed, and then you can deal with it. You'll never deal with it if you don't even realize why you were.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. And again, Tayo just made a great point. We're human. We're not superheroes. We're not super beings. We are made of flesh, blood, emotions, and we need to cry sometimes, and we need to get it out of our bodies. We thank everybody for tuning in, and remember, we're not superheroes. We're human, and so you have human emotions that you need to take care of. A part of that is taking care of you and being the best you can be. We thank everybody for tuning in. This was another great show. Please like, share, go to our YouTube page and subscribe. And we look forward to having a conversation with you next Thursday, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, I'm your girl, Victorian Russell Walton, aka Maryland's Big Diva. And that's my man, Warren Green. And we thank you so much for tuning in. Until next Thursday, everyone, be blessed, be kind, and be healthy. Bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Great show, Warren.
It's okay. Okay.
Awesome, 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 awesome. So let me call you offline, get everything off because we're still on. Here we go.